Good morning, viewer. Welcome to our perspective. Yes, here's the breaking news. The New Delhi summit of the Group of 20 G20 may be remembered by historians for a variety of reasons. The summit was preceded by about 200 events held in different parts of India, thus turning the Indian presidency into the People's Presidency. Notably, two major leaders, President Vladimir Putin and President Xi Jinping, were absent from the summit. Ukraine cast a dark shadow on the negotiations for consensus on the outcome document. The grouping went for its first ever expansions to admit the African Union as a member, finally proving all pessimists wrong. The Sherpas of the leaders led by India managed to pull off a diplomatic coup, drawing global admiration for a substantial New Delhi declaration. It was backed by a 100% consensus. The short article attempts to dissect the geopolitical implications of the prelude to the summit, its deliberations and outcomes, and the future prospects of great power relations. The US, the European Community, China, and Russia have traditionally been the key players in the multipolar world ever since America's unipolar movement began to give way from the early years of this century. Relations among the Big Four came under exceptional stress following the outbreak of the Ukraine war. Experts agreed that it was not only an armed conflict between Russia and Ukraine, but it was also a conflict and confrontation between Russia and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, that is called the NATO. That China chose to play a dual role of serving as a close ally of Russia while posing as a friendly mediator in the war complicated matters further. Hence, the Big Four approached the New Delhi summit with divergent perspectives and a shared desire to score points over each others. It goes to the credit of the Indian leaderships that the real nature of geopolitical implication was understood fully. Right from the beginning of its presidency, India consciously chose to insulate G20 from the pressures generated by the war in Ukraine. It refused to invite President Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine to the New Delhi summit. Not even a digital address was acceptable despite pressures from G7 nations. India also made it clear that while it would not agree to any public condemnation of the Russian invasion, it could not deviate from a commitment to the UN principles on respect for territorial integrity and national sovereignty or political independence. The Bali paragraphs that were severely imbalanced and critical of Russia had, therefore, to be updated and expanded to 8 paragraphs. Yeah, they shaped the New Delhi summit and showed to both sides were to get off in the larger interest of humanity. India played the ultimate card, arguing convincingly that a united and effective G20 is in everyone's interest, not just that of the host nation. The manner in which India-China relations unfolded, particularly at the highest political level, from SCO summit in Samarkand, September 2020 to the BRICS summit in Johannesburg, August 2023, generated much concern about a likely disruptive role by the Chinese side in the build-up to New Delhi summit. President Xi Jinping's absence was seen by most observers as a negative signal, but the South Bloc, the seat of the Prime Minister's office and the Ministry of External Affairs took it in its stride. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar noted that choosing the level of representation was the prerogative of every country. At the summit itself, China ended up playing a positive and constructive role, helping in the development of consensus on several delicate issues. China said Jaishankar was supportive. This author heard a senior Chinese diplomat stationed in Delhi state publicly this week that India deserved much appreciation for completing a very difficult mission. He added that development rather than geopolitical issues must guide the deliberation of G20. In short, despite serious bilateral issues, China showed willingness to recognize that the success of the New Delhi summit was desirable for it and for the emerging power balance in the region. A major trend at the G20 Summit and in previous months of the steady emergence of the global south as a significant factor in international politics. India played a crucial role in shaping this trend, which began last year in Bali when Indian diplomats helped Indonesia in crafting consensus of the Ukraine war. Nothing the success of India's contribution as the voice of the global south, which was highlighted by the conference of the same name hosted by New Delhi in January 2023. Indonesia and other developing countries in G20 came forward when their valuable help was required. India fully acknowledged that Indonesia, Brazil and South Africa helped the removing the bottlenecks in drafting the New Delhi Declaration. Later, they were joined by other countries such as Mexico, Saudi Arabia and Turkey. Behind the report, Posek TV.